Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I'm reviewing a pen from Laban. Now Laban is a brand I have reviewed several pens of from in the past, and they do very nice pens. One pen that really jumped out to me was this, which is the Cambridge model, or the 325 I think it is. This is the beautiful acrylic pen and still Jowo number 6 nib, but just a really great pen, a pen that I come back to a lot to use this one. What we have here is a very different pen from Laban, and it's one of their more affordable pen options. Now you pull out the little drawer on the box here, and there is the pen. This is the Laban Solar, and this is the black version, which I've also seen listed as the Eclipse, and I love that name. You get a little sticker underneath the mattress, you get a little bookmark and some instruction information, all that kind of stuff. Like, it's very nice. Very nice. It's nicely presented. Laban do a great job with their presentation. I'm going to talk about the parts and features of this pen, and then I'm going to do a writing sample, and we'll talk about some pros and cons. Okay, so the pen is made from anodized aluminium and is black, and it has these sort of concentric sort of loops or circles around the pen, which are sort of cut out of the shape of the pen, and reminds me a little bit of a pen I reviewed recently, the Diplomat E-Locks, which has the same sort of thing but with an accented color in each of those rings. And the Diplomat costs about 3 times the price. The top of this pen is sort of just slightly domed, flat end, and the cap swells out, and then the barrel tapers down, and then we get another little domed end or flat end there. The clip has this sort of like triangular cut peak, and it is spring loaded, and it's good. It's a clip I really like. I think the clip is one of the very nice design features of the pen. Just on the end of the cap here, we have Laban, which is printed in white on the black. And this black looks sharp. It's kind of matte black. It looks good, and it's a simple but good looking pen. The cap twists off in 2 turns and reveals a very shiny knurled section with a bit of a step down off the barrel there onto some fairly chunky threads, and then this little section, and then a small nib. Now, I'm not exactly sure what size nib this is, but if we look at it just quickly here alongside a cap off, a number 6, you can see it's small. It's probably about a number 4 size nib, I would imagine. But, it's a good nib. It writes very nicely as well, I will say. It is a cartridge converter pen. You unscrew the body there, and you get a converter with it, and it's good. It's a looks like I've got some ink around the threads there. Always an interesting one to see. But it's a cartridge converter, so it takes standard international cartridges, and so a converter is provided. The Laban Solar comes in quite a range of colors. I think there's about 8 different colors, and the orange and the blue particularly are very striking. It also comes in a range of nib sizes: extra fine, medium and broad, and I have here a medium nib. Size comparison here with the Lamy Safari, you can see it is a smaller pen. It's more compact, and it both serves that purpose, but also it's just a little small, and it feels a little bit small. Uncapped, absolutely smaller than the Lamy Safari. The section probably is around the same sort of width at its middle point, but it is a much smaller section. Posted, it's still smaller. Actually, the nib size is actually fairly similar to sort of the length of a Lamy nib. And so you can see it is a smaller pen, not a pocket pen, just a smaller pen. The dimensions of the Laban Solar are 136 millimeters when it is capped, 118 when it is uncapped, which for some people will be getting a little bit on the small side to use unposted. It does post, not super deep, but it does post, and it's an okay length at that point. Just the weight feels a little bit strange. It comes in 160 millimeters at this point, but I think the issue with this pen is the grip section. 9 to 10 millimeters, it's not terribly thin, but it kind of feels small given that step down off the barrel. You feel like you are pinching slightly in front of the barrel of the pen. It's an odd sensation, and with a smaller nib, it does feel small in your hand. The pen weighs 40 grams, 26 in the body, 14 in the cap. So you are putting just a little more than a third of the pen's weight on the back of the pen when you are posting it. So you do feel that balance ever so slightly. Time for a writing sample now. So we have the Laban Solar. And this is a number, I'm going to say it's a number 4 steel medium nib. The ink I have in this is Diamine Sierra. One of my absolute favorite inks. Love, love, love this ink. Great to write with, great color, just really, 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 really good ink. Okay, writing sample. Okay, so it's smooth. You can hear how smooth that is. It writes pretty wet. It's good. It lays down a nice, what I consider to be a very sort of, traditional medium line. Quick writing. Like, no issues whatsoever. This pen is just going to keep writing and writing and writing. Reverse writing. Hey, that's pretty good. It's a bit sharp and it will run out, but like, it is doable. It is not a flex nib. It is not soft. It is rigid, but you know, you can get a little bit more ink down if that's what you desire. But I think this writes very, very well. It is well tuned, it's wet, it's smooth, it's generous, it's consistent, and it makes an ink like this look absolutely great on the page. Let's now talk about some pros and cons for the Laban Solar fountain pen. I'm going to start with the cons. Okay, firstly, I have to start with this grip section. Like, it's knurled, so it's not like slick, but it is just, it feels so small and it tapers down so much that you just feel very pinchy on it. And also, like, it's an odd texture under your fingers. So if you don't like that sort of tactile experience, this is not going to be the pen for you. But I think it's that little step down off the barrel there onto those chunky threads and this little section that makes it feel just a little pinchy. That's in my hand. If you prefer a slimmer grip section, this may be a good pen for you. Another issue that comes down to something to do with the grip is the balance. There's so much weight in this back section of the pen and in the cap that this section is quite light. So you don't actually feel like the pen is leading down towards the nib. And my preferred sort of balance is leading down towards the nib. So you don't have that with this pen. It balances sort of slightly weirdly back behind your fingers. An issue I have, and this is an odd one, but like these first threads, they're kind of loose because they're chunky, and then you get to the end and then you just get this like anodized metal on anodized metal sound, which just like is just, for me, it's a horrible sound. It also highlights another issue. Anodized aluminium like this, it does scratch and you can chip it, and so moments of that where we have that little bit of wear on it, and just generally, like, it is a kind of finish that, you know, will show damage. A couple little other issues. This converter, they're just not particularly high quality converters. It's because there's a bit of ink like around it. Like, I'm not sure where that's come from, whether that was an old fill but it's just not a particularly great converter. When I got it, it was the ring, this silver ring was loose on it. And so the first time I filled it, it was very sort of flimsy. So just please be sure to check things like that with it, when you're not getting like a Schmidt K5 converter. You know, not all converters are made equal. Let's just say that. Another personal issue that I have with this pen is these rings. While they make a lovely design element and they actually tie into something that I love about this pen, when you are using pens like this and the Diplomat E-locks here, when you are using cases that have like elastic straps or pen loops, it just gets caught on there and it's kind of just a pain. So while I love the design element of it, just, you know, these are things that just take into account if they're things that annoy you. I'll talk about the price here in between the pros and the cons. So this pen retails at full price for $80 or 60. I've seen it on sale a lot recently for around the $64 mark, which makes it an okay price point. I think, you know, as an anodized aluminium pen with a, you know, comes with a converter. It's got a little steel nib on it. It's an okay price point. I don't think it's necessarily that. I think that a pen of, you know, the sum of its parts, it could be slightly cheaper. Like that $64 price point is much better than the full $80 price point. But I think, you know, you are getting a pen that writes really, really well, which is what I want to go into next. That nib, like, it writes so well. You saw in the writing sample, it's smooth, it's wet, it's generous. It does everything you need it to do, and straight out of the box. From first fill through to now, months later, it writes beautifully first time every time. I cannot stress why there are pens that come, you know, like people say, oh, you got to flush it, you got to do this. Yes, that's a great idea. But a pen like this, at, you know, a third the price of some pens that write dodgy out of the box, wrote beautifully first time. That's awesome. Another thing I love about this pen is the seamless transition from cap to body, which these rings actually do tie into. So once you screw that down onto that final thread, you have to look to see where that section is. If you're just looking at the pen, like, you know, as it moves around in your hand or whatever, you will not notice that. And I enjoy that. I enjoy that a lot. So there are things to enjoy about this pen. There are lots of little things that I don't love necessarily, or that I think could be issues. And having reviewed things like, you know, the 325, which is such a beautiful pen and beautifully crafted and wrote so well, and everything sort of like just worked. And it also has like a great, you know, sort of design and beautiful acrylics and all of those kinds of things. Just little quips, just little things that I think, you know, could be improved upon, or just like, you know, are just sort of slightly annoying, shall we say. But anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you found this video interesting and useful. I think it's an interesting pen, and as I said, it writes like a dream. So big kudos to Laban for that. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Hit the notifications button. Please get in touch using any of the platforms listed below. If you've got products you think I should be looking at, or if there is a way you would like to support this channel by sponsoring a review or providing an item for a review, I would love to hear from you. In the meantime, enjoy your pens, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you soon.